who knows what manga is? You might have heard of manga?
We had a little tiny. They saw one little picture of it.
One picture? Okay, manga is the Japanese way of doing comic strip. And one thing I like about manga that's different from our comics as Americans is we talk too much. No, seriously. Who has that Bart Simpson comic? Right there, right? Let me see it. Okay. One difference between us and the Japanese is we talk too much, and I'll show you why. What do you see a lot of in these papers?
Bubbles.
A lot of dialogue, right? Da-da-da-da-da-da-da, like Charlie Brown, like. In Japan, they focus more on action. So these pages might not look like this at all. It would be more so, I'm trying to think if anybody watches, like, who watches Naruto or ever any of those shows?
My friends are crazy about that thing.
When you see those shows and they do something really cool, like they're running, they put a big emphasis on them running. They'll show their face, and then they'll show their foot, and then they'll show, like, their body moving. There won't be anything saying, I'm running to the store right now. You won't see that. But in American comics, they'll describe the whole process. He's walking outside. He picks up the paper. He waves to his neighbor. It'll be all in captions. Right. Exactly. The Japanese don't really focus on that. And that's why when I do my comics, I tend to blend both styles. I have American as far as I use a lot of dialogue sometimes, and then sometimes I don't use dialogue at all. Sometimes I just draw a lot of action. So when it comes to drawing comics, like I said, it's a lot of give and take, and it takes a lot of practice. Now, one thing about me is I read comics. Why? Because I like drawing comics, and you're going to have to read comics in order to understand them. I have a problem because when I read comics, sometimes I'm so caught up in how the artist did it that I'm not reading it. I'm just skimming through the page like, oh, that's awesome. That is really cool. Look how you did that. Then I'll be like, I don't know anything about this comic because all I did was look at the artwork. So I actually have to read it again. So here's an example of what I mean by the action. Notice in this panel right here, I'll zoom up. I'll try to walk around with it. But the raccoon right here actually has a claw like Wolverine. And when he's pulling it back like this, if this was an American comic strip, he would have actually did it a lot different, and it would have took more panels. But I put a lot of focus right here on him swinging back like this. But the Japanese do that a lot in their comic strips, and a lot of American artists are starting to do it now. So it's kind of cool to see how our styles and our traditions are starting to mix.
Like on Pokemon?
Like on Pokemon, exactly. Like I'm guessing when Ash or somebody might throw the ball, you'll see these little dash lines. You'll see like the ball, then the ball will pop open, and the Pokemon pop out. It's like 12 million thousand of those, right?
Aren't there airlines? Aren't they called airlines?
Speed lines. That's what they call them, speed lines. Yeah, but you know
Wait,
what?
can I see that?
They have a lot of names for them, though.
And you drew that?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Now the other comic strip that I have is about a friend of mine who was injured in Iraq